Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Abair, and this is where I share my insights. And today we're going to be talking about the musical components of living in tune. If you've ever been in a choir or an orchestra or a band, you'll know just how important the locking in of intonation is. And when that happens, you get a certain zing, and almost as if the entire group is lifted by very little effort. So we're going to be talking about how can we live in tune. A lot of it is thinking about your life as a cooperative venture. Stick around and I'll explain what I'm talking about. I spent the last 25 years of my professional life as a choir director, and that gave me a very unique perspective on life. I would say that there are so few choral directors in the world. Band directors, orchestra directors, people that have to get groups to do the same thing at the same time in perfect sync, harmony, emotive, interpretive, all of it has to come together with a large group of people. This is not the kind of thing that you do if you're a CEO of a company or a football coach, because even in sports, you've got individual components that seem to have to work together in some kind of diversity. Music making happens in the present moment with such a precision that few people really get to experience it unless they are on the podium. So I'm going to let you in on what I've learned as a choral director and how this is a very important way we can live. I spent more time than I can even admit to getting diverse groups of people to put the needs of the group above their own. You had 40 or 50 people in the room, all of whom had individual divaricating lives. So you had 40 different directions. And so often the difficulty was to put the attention on the composite. This is not the way Western culture thinks. I don't know about my friends in the East, but we do not think of the cooperative nature of living. That is, until we get a taste of what it feels like to lock in, say, two pitches. So you have two seemingly different notes, but when mathematically they are perfectly aligned, they come together in this zing, which produces what's called overtones. Now, my musician friends will understand this. If I have a pitch, doo, doo, and above it a perfect fifth, doo, doo, if I could sing that with myself, I could in a recording, I would hear a middle note, doo, 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 all three of those notes, plus a whole host of what's called overtones. Now, this is hard to demonstrate to your average person that is not tuned in to the magic of locked-in music. But I have demonstrated this. You can watch, if you're interested in this, I would encourage you to watch some of Jacob Collier's demonstrations of overtones. It's an amazing amalgamation that two people can produce like 8 pitches into the ether that are hardly perceivable by your average person. It requires you to tune into frequencies that people are not aware of. And so that is a perfect mathematical demonstration of something called synergy. Now, synergy is the cooperation of two agents that, in working in perfect tandem, produce a result that's greater than the sum of the individual parts. Now, that's a mouthful to say that when the individual is diminished and the composite is paid attention to, there seems to be an upliftment, a creation of multiple results in a ghost-like way, where it feels as though there's no effort at all. Locking in pitches to be perfect fifths or perfect octaves, these where the sound waves are in complete union with one another. There is a oneness that comes out of that, but it's also a multiplicity. It's hard to describe. So a perfect fifth locks in and becomes this complete, it's a tight, the beats in the sound wave stop. If something's out of tune, you'll hear it going whoa, 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 whoa. And then when they lock in, whoa, 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 you hear them lock in, and then it produces a rainbow of other pitches. I call that the ringing of chords. That is only possible when the two people who are singing two pitches are aware of something much greater, a ring of resplendence, acoustics. Basically, you're talking about spaciousness. You're talking about an expanded awareness. That's when things come together. And as it relates to music, it's listening. It's. I always say that good tuning in a choir is 80% listening and 20% singing. The actual production of the sound from the individual, you almost blend in to your surroundings. You blend in so much that you modify your voice in sort of a camouflage way to get the overtones, to get those zingy, resplendent, acoustical, resonant things that float and hover in the air. And it's electrifying because the effort of the individual goes down to nil. And the needs of the group take over. So it kind of feels like, when a runner is really locked in and they're running uphill, it's almost as if the hill lifts them up. Well, I think we can live this way if we understand the cooperative, the composite, the spaciousness, the vibrancy of resplendence, which means resplendence is a fancy word for bright and beautiful. Like, you have to get rid of the discordance inside of you, the feeling of being all out of whack. Everything out there is against you. All your life is pulling you. So people who are out of tune don't realize that they are everything. They don't realize that they are their thoughts, they are their bodies, they are their environments. In a sense, we are everything, including the notion of I'm not my body, I'm not the environment. We're all of it. So a spiritual teacher can't say, well, you're not the body, you're not your thoughts, you're not your circumstance. You are your circumstances, you are your thoughts, you are your body, and you are also that perception of not being the body, not being the thoughts, not being. So you're everything with and without. And there was a certain way of thinking, I'm locked into something I perceive as here and now. I can't get away from myself. And while that might seem enslaving, it actually does a great service to you when the cooperative nature of life takes over and the individual nature of life diminishes down to hardly anything at all. So your purpose becomes to uplift, right? You are completely comfortable in your surroundings because you're gone. You are the surroundings. Remember, if you are everything, then you settle into that background and you pay attention to the composite. That's why sitting quietly is so important. What are we listening to? We're trying to lock into the perfect tuning of the universe, the perfect timing to the universe, the perfect rhythm to the universe. So the universe is singing. That's why it's called Universe, one song. And you are trying to sing another song, and you can't. You're trying to be in another location. You're trying to get somewhere, and you can't get anywhere. The universe doesn't go anywhere. The universe kind of zings and hums and maybe just vibrates a little bit. I don't know. And you learn to stop chasing and running and stop, drop, blend in, and resonate. So in choral music, when the chord is pingy, like barbershop music, it's like, oh, it seems really tight, you know? It's not tight vocally, it's just tight metaphysically. It's locked in. We call that ringing the chord. And so, which is an interesting way of saying that, because the sages and the saints are often painted with halos around their head, like a ring. They've expanded their awareness, and the individual self has trickled away to nothing. And they have gotten in touch with synergy, the cooperative nature of upliftment, of cooperation, not of discordance and conflict. You know you're out of tune when you wake up every morning. You say life is shitty. You're out of tune when you wake up every morning and you can hardly get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. You have no zing, no zest, no spring in your step, no willingness to do anything. You're out of tune. You're not listening to your higher self, to the composite, to the cooperative. And that is done by acoustics. If you walk into a very large space like a cathedral, and you hear a grand pipe organ, 90% of that wonderful sound is because of the space, the vacuity, the emptiness of the room. And a pipe organ out of doors would sound ridiculous. You could take the pipe organ at Notre Dame Cathedral and put it outside, and it would sound like shit on a shingle. It's the space, this ensconcement of nothing. Paying attention to that space and the resonance and the timing is so important to being in tune. And it's not just acoustical, it's tempo. Like if you're in a band or an orchestra, you can't go any faster than the music is playing. You can't go any slower. You can't play any louder than the composite sound or any softer. So you learn, okay, my life is like a piece of music. And if I try to push ahead, I'm kind of out of sync with the band that I am, the cooperative nature of who I am, etc., etc. So it's timing, it's pacing, it's rhythm, it's paying attention to the space, it's paying attention to how the chords lock in. So we're not just talking about sound, we're talking about time too. So your life is a musical masterpiece playing right now. And you're kind of in the orchestra of it. And you're seeing everybody as enemies. And you're seeing everything as oppositional. rather than as cooperational. Everything in your life is cooperating with you. If you would just allow yourself to be, maybe you're in the first chair in the violin section. I don't know. But that's as close as you're going to get to the conductor. But the universe doesn't have a conductor. You see, there's no boss. And that's how Western people see it, sort of like the potentate. God is good and does all the good things, and I am bad and I do all the bad things. See, that's terrible. I prefer a much more Eastern philosophy to nature, which is a spontaneous happening of itself, more or less related to the word automatic, but that's still very mechanical. It's an automated spontaneity. I don't know. See, the universe just does not have a conductor per se. But we're sitting first chair, maybe in our section of our life, and we've got to get in touch with this timing that's in the stratosphere, you know? The composite. Start cooperating with everything, even what looks like a mess. That's where this starts. You start, okay, I understand my life's a mess, my finances are a mess, my relationship's a mess, my health is a mess. Okay, great. Start cooperating with it. Start loving it. Start getting in sync with it. Don't renounce it. Don't push it away. Don't try to overstep yourself. Most of this is just sitting quietly to kind of get a sense of what your body is saying, what the ether is saying, what I am saying to you, which is not me. There's no Ryan saying this. There's no captain. This is the universe talking to the universe. You're making all this happen. Get in sync with it. Don't compete with this. Accept it, absorb it, listen to it, comply with it. This is, you and I are creating some synergy right now. It's kind of cool. Line up. Tune in. Get more sensitive. Let the individual back into the texture and pay attention to the larger I am. That diversification is unified when we lock in with each other. When we lock into everything that appears as not me. Yeah, you tell a choir, y'all are singing out of tune. Every single person in that choir thinks it's not my fault. It's you're out of tune if internally you're a mess. I've started tuning up with my life, and I'm hearing all kind of overtones. It's amazing. I don't have a halo. But that radiance and that resplendence is going to come through in your countenance and your life, and it's just, wow. You'll hear the overtones, and you'll want more of them, and you'll realize just how easy it is to blend in, to cooperate with your higher self, the universe, everyone, and everything. And you'll be in tune, and you'll be like, whoa, I so much prefer to live in tune than to be all discordant and disheveled and pissed off all the time. Let's tune up. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed these insights. If you did, please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com. And we will see you again soon.